feelings themselves can be positive or negative. But there's another dimension on top of that, which is intensity. So you can have a negative feeling or a positive feeling. Doesn't mean that's having a big impact on your life. Doesn't mean you're manifesting anything. Whether it's positive or negative is only one dimension. The other dimension is intensity. And that's, I think, somehow something that you brought up, that we were talking about intensity. Intensity of feeling matters. In a devotional context, intensity matters. Whether it's kind of a bhajan or whatever kind of like sadhana one might be engaged in. It's a positive feeling, but the intensity matters even more. And that intensity is like that's the manifestation agent, I think. In a devotional context, it's still kind of a dualistic modality where the devotee there's a relationship between the devotee and the deva. But that's that kind of devotionalism is kind of that kind of dualism. Swami would explain that in Vedantic parlance, that would be Dvaitam. That would be dualism. But beyond that dualism is Advaitam, non-dualism. That's creationism. If I pray to God, oh God, you should save the planet. Oh God, you should solve my problems. Oh God, you should. See, that means that I, the prayer, the one who says the prayers, doesn't have the power to do the thing. And so I pray on to Deva for who has the power. It's separate from me. That's dualism. But if you look into it, like even in my own experience, Swami responded to me only in these, like I found that Swami like only responded to me. There was no reason for Swami to respond to me. Thousands and thousands are sitting there, and why would he respond to me? Or how would he respond to me, whether in person or not in person? I felt like it had to do with the intensity. And I think that like when you kind of look at it that way, like when you look at on the one hand, there's intense devotion, and on the other hand, there's God's response. And if you think about the active agent being intensity, that intensity was mine. I created. I was the creator. I think that's non-dualism. I think that's Advaitam. And I think, when Swami says, Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati.
Or probably qualified dualism, isn't it?
Right.
Because this is not oneness yet. There is still the I who is...
Right. It's qualified
Right.
non-dualism. Correct.
So we are co-creating, so to speak, having enough faith.
We are co-creators. That's right. Swami, I remember Swami told us, you and me, like, to mimic or copy is human, but to create is divine. And art should come from the heart. So those words, right, Swami said to us, and I think I do. I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. Creationism. We create our own realities.
But I also wonder that we created our reality when we did not know we were creating our reality.
Right.
So which
Correct.
means that happens.
It doesn't have to be conscious. It doesn't have to happen consciously.
I'm almost thinking that there was a lack of doership, what I'm trying to say.
Right, exactly. You need not feel your doership to be a doer. I do. I think you're totally right. I think that is one of the...
So it's like the problem here is now we are in the doership role and it is not working.
Right.
We are trying to drive it.
I know.
We're wanting what we want, but it is not happening because we feel that whatever I want, it should take place, and it is not working anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when, like, I reflect back on my experiences, I think that's right. Is like the second you become conscious of your efforts to create, once you become conscious that you're the doer or something, it almost spoils it or something.
I would say that it's not that you're conscious or not conscious, but it's more like you associating yourself with the doership. That's it. One can be consciously aware of what is happening, but one may still be detached, like Janaka.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what comes with, like, the wisdom of experience, when, like you say, when you don't even know you're doing it, you're kind of naive and innocent, but in reflecting back, you start to put it together and think about what are the pieces, what are the critical pieces for creating the lives we all want to live. Having good feelings is better than having bad feelings. That's true. Having and also appreciating the intensity of our feelings has a bearing on outcomes. And if we want positive results, and we have good feelings, without intensity, we may not get results. At the same time, if we think bad feelings, naturally we'll have negative thoughts and feelings. But if intensity is applied to negative feelings, then we can expect that pattern to propagate. And then realizing that we have some bearing, like once we recognize the mechanics of that, we can see what kind of what kind of control we really exercise over our own lives. That our lives and our lived experiences aren't just these random experiences. They're not just the products of winds that blow through. Our lived experiences are the products of our own feelings projected with intensity.
That leads to... Sorry.
Well,
No, bol.
And then kind of extending out to what you last said, which is, with wisdom, we can learn to there's that funny, like, if you try to make something happen, you may not make it happen. but when it comes automatically, authentically from our hearts, it happens. And that is, I think, the lesson or the wisdom of Janaka. Some kind of, I think you're right, that some kind of non-attachment to results is there. See, if we're living our lives hoping to create the outcomes that we picture in our minds that we desire, that's a different thing from spontaneously in the moment responding wholeheartedly without care for the results. Which is what I think you were saying.
I am reflecting back on 25 more years ago. I'm reflecting back on about 27 years ago, 28 years ago, when we met and we had our experiences during the summer course. And from that point onwards, we've been discussing that here we are, two small town boys. How did we converge at the lotus feet of our beloved Lord? And we both had this idea independently. Will I have the good fortune to see the Lord in this life? We had this most fundamental, basic question. And if the Lord is incarnate, I would love to see my Lord. It was that simple quest. How would I know that my Lord is the Lord? Will I be called to see? And when we both found out about Baba and how we were so thrilled and curious and excited to have our first darshan. And that alone was completely satisfying. The very first look. Our lives were redeemed just having the darshan of Baba from whatever distance. That was enough. It was enough. Our lives were fulfilled. How happy we were to have this rare opportunity of our dreams fulfilled, of what we truly desired. We've been having this intense desire to see the Lord. The two key words here are intensity and desire. And Baba's favorite question was, what do you want? And that is really the seed question for any manifestation. What is it that you want to manifest? Manifest means physicality, meaning to
I want a ring, I want a this or that.
To have it in your life happen, whether it is physical or non-physical.
One of the most common questions Swami ever asked, over and again, what do you want? One of the most common questions. And we as devotees would take that question every which way. We would take it in the very here and now, like we would take it in, bigger levels, like, oh, I would like to. But at a higher level still, like, like the question, like the question was almost a teaching, right? Like, the question alone says a lot, regardless of whatever answers we put behind his question.
The question was the technique.
What do we want?
It was a sadhana.
Right. Think about what you want. Think about what you want. Be clear about that. That thing you should present to me. I'm asking you right now. What do you want? It is a sadhana. The question itself was a sadhana.
And we were trying to give the right answers to Baba. What will please
Right. I always felt that, like, my first couple trips to India, every trip was awesome. But those first couple trips were very powerful to me. And I remember specifically how I felt and with what feeling I went and what did I want to get out of it. And I always, I didn't have, I always found that there were, over the years, I could see people who went there for different reasons. There were people who went, they were like, is he really God? I would like for him to I would like to be convinced that he is God. That was one common way that people went. Another way people went was, I believe he's God, and I have some problem or something that I want some resolution to. I want a solution. I want help. A lot of people went like that. Those were two, but I remember specifically, I didn't want either of those. I just wanted to experience him. I wanted to know what he was like. I wanted to experience him. And that was it. And I think that kind of I think that was a good way to go. I wanted him, If his question is, what do you want? My answer was, I think just you. And I don't even know what that means, but you're the only thing I want. I think that made a difference in some way. Because what I got was really more than I could have ever asked for in my own words. I think that was the beauty about that time of our lives, is there wasn't anything we wanted more than Swami. We didn't want things like our careers to be going well. We didn't want things like...
I'm gonna edit that right here. I would say that it's not that we didn't want anything, but we wanted Baba more than anything else.
I don't even think I was like mature enough to even think about some of those other
Exactly.
like grown-up things.
It's not that we positively did not want it. It's just that we didn't care in front of Baba. Like, it doesn't really matter. Our intensity of love for Baba and desire for Baba far exceeded any second, third thing. It doesn't mean we didn't want the second, third thing, but it didn't matter,
Right. What was right after the best, like, what else do you want? That's exactly how I felt. It wasn't that I didn't want anything else. It was just there was nothing going to rise up to him. What was going to be better than him? I was open to that, you know what I mean? Like, there could be something better than him, but up to that point, like, and even to today, I've not found anything that rose up to that same level or surpassed.
I think that is the key, Jeremy, that we were so single-pointedly focused on Baba that, honestly speaking, Jeremy, whatever we wanted at that time came true since then. So the key to manifestation is not just intensity, it is singular focused on that higher authority. Then whatever thoughts came following that, it's almost like what Baba talks about. One is the one that gives powers to zero. Zero doesn't have a power by itself. You can write 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, it is still a 1. But when you have a 1 and multiple zeros after, all the zeros get power. The zeros are everything else, because compared to Baba, everything else was almost like a zero,
Yeah.
So when one was put in place, when one was put in the right place, when one was put in the
front place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then all the zeros got manifested, including that we wanted to come closer to Baba. We wanted to have various experiences with Baba. We wanted to have materialization. All of those came to true. They all came true. Whatever we wanted when we had Baba as number one.
I think that's right. I think that's exactly right.
We started this conversation with, we are co-creators. We can also
manifestation.
to it is all an intensity and feeling. All that is true, but it's nothing. It is still a zero compared to the one.
Yeah. I think if you are trying to do some like analysis of where does the power come from, I think this narrative kind of like shows how the thread weaves through what the... It's not that we can't, can you manifest in your life if you're not a Sai Baba devotee, or of course, like, we are all manifesting every day. Our own beliefs we're manifesting. One of the powerful lessons that Swami taught me one time, when I was a school teacher, he said, I asked Swami, I said, Swami, we would like to do Psi education in America. And he said, and I thought that was a very noble, good thing to ask Swami, you know. But Swami surprised me and said, what is Psi education? And I wasn't at all prepared for that question, you know, like I was like, and the first thing that came out of my mouth, Sunil, was having faith in God. And Swami said, yes. And then I said, but Swami, we can't really talk about God in America in schools. And then Swami went on to say something that I'll always remember. He said, God. God is just a word. Faith is the important thing. He said, even atheists have faith. Nobody will go to work tomorrow if they don't have faith that their boss is going to pay them their salary check at the end of the week. Nobody will go to bed at night and sleep peacefully unless they have faith that tomorrow the sun is going to rise and there will be another day. Every part of our lives is an expression of faith. We are all living faith-based lives. What we believe is our reality. That is Yad Bhavam Tat Bhavati. When we bring intensity, it only is just a magnifying glass, you know? If you want to burn a leaf on the ground, you put a magnifying glass, the natural sun rays will start a fire. That's the same principle, I think. With intensity, if we can intensify the feelings, then whatever we believe will hold true and become true. But better still, if we can have that one before a zero, you know what I mean? If we can benefit, if we have the wisdom of, if we can put the one before a zero, we could all save ourselves a lot of hardships, you know? What is the thing you want? What do you want? What Swami used to ask. That's up to us. That's the free will part. What do you want? Most of us have to run around the world and try a little bit of everything before we decide none of it makes us happy. If we're lucky enough to meet a person like Sai Baba, we get a whole lot of clarity about what's worth wanting and get a whole lot of clarity about what kind of one goes before the zeros. We're all living faith-based lives. Our lives are a function of what we believe. And a product of what we desire.
So in reality, it is the deletion of the individuality, the I-ness, the minus.
I think that's kind of what the human condition's a lot about, is reconciling the self from non-self, the higher mind from the lower mind. The positive thoughts from the negative thoughts. The false from the true. That's a whole lot about what the dance of life is, I guess. Life is a game, play it, Swami used to say. The way he said that was like so nice, because like, life is a game, play it. In those words, he understands like how much of life feels like nonsense game. But his like encouragement is so positive. Just play the game. Do your best. Face it with a good disposition.
But remembering it
That's the
all
way,
along that it's a
right?
game.
Right. I mean, that's the way he would say it. It's like, he didn't say life is a game, it's not worth playing. Right? He didn't say that. Like, nor did he say life is everything, don't fail. He didn't say it like that either. Never did he say life is reality. Like the word game, you could say, is Maya, right?
But
If Swami were maybe
don't make it more than what it is.
right, it is what it is. It's a game. It has rules. It has repeatable, expectable, events. To me, I think, like you could almost insert the word Maya or samsara or something, right? But he didn't say avoid it, run from it, hide. He said engage it, play it. He uses the word play, right? Which implies like face it with a good attitude, like enjoy it actually. But you win some, you lose some. It's not everything. It's just a game. Do your best.
This whole manifestation thing, and it is quite unsexy, isn't it? As we put it now, there is no magic bullet. There is no silver
No,
bullet.
I think that's right. And honestly, like manifestation was not a word. Manifest, as a young Sai devotee, manifestation, like the only person that manifested was Swami. There was no thought in my head that like I manifest too. Even though he was teaching us these same things all along, he would say, "You are God," and these are not like all these things he said before. But I only felt the only person that manifests is Swami. I don't manifest. I encountered this idea of manifestation only like years later, kind of in like an American, like almost like self-help kind of context or something. How to improve your life. How to, I can picture the book title, something like how to have all you want in life in, 60 days or less or whatever, something like that. And I think I originally approached it with some, and even now I think, there's been this reconciliation of skepticism, like, and, like, I think part of it, like you say, is like when you say, like, how to have the life you want to live, how to manifest your life, there is immediately a kind of a sexy allure. Ooh, I could have anything I want. And I think that I probably thought of it that way too, when I first like kind of tried on the phrase manifesting. Even now I'm, like I've grown more comfortable with it. And I think in like what we were talking, understanding what are I think this conversation has largely been about kind of the mechanics and the pathway analysis or something of what makes for a manifestation. What are the components? What are we really talking about in a, not having the right to, like, I suppose, I mean, I know people that have lives that are like, they have everything they want. Did they manifest them? Or are they just lucky? Or subconsciously, they just naturally projected that in the, I don't know. But what I am clear about, when Swami asks, what do you want? The thing I want in life isn't the monopoly money you gain from playing a game. I don't want to win the game. You know what I mean? Like, doing well at the game is good, but that's like, I want this thing. I don't know.
Jeremy, I think that it's not the answer again. Because what if Jeremy says something and other people are like, oh my God, Jeremy says this. Wow, I can't say that. Or that Jeremy says this, then I must also say that. I think it's a rhetoric question. The question is the path.
What do you want? Yeah.
So,
I think that's right.
Because whatever is the answer at this moment is what you're going to manifest, whether it is fear, whether it is concern, whether it is divinity. Whatever is it that you want, with the firm conviction you already gave so-called answer to the question that doesn't have an answer.
Right.
Which is, we knew it. It is not like this was our opinion. We knew it, that only God can manifest. We never thought anybody else could manifest. We had absolutely no doubt about it. And anybody who said can manifest, they're like, you are fake. Run away from that person.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
So here is the beauty in it. I think having faith that God can manifest anything. And we had iota of doubt what God could manifest. And we saw the examples in front of our eyes,
Right.
in terms of small objects like rings, chains, necklaces, strawberries, vibhuti.
Right.
And also large scale manifestation like the super specialty hospitals in Puttaparthi and Bangalore, the likes of which don't exist on the planet Earth right now. Not in America, not in UK, not in India, not in Russia, not in Canada, where there's free healthcare. We saw the manifestation from immediately from his hand to how within 1 year things took place, and everything in between we saw, which was really seva. The real manifestation that we saw was the
love in action.
Yeah. The manifestation was taking place now in mental, emotional level. That is also manifestation. The satisfaction you and I received or
the transformation of people. Yeah. Yeah.
That seva was also a means of manifestation.
Yeah.
transformation was taking place in our hearts who were participating in it, the people who received it, and people who watched both parties exchanging it. And people who heard the stories of Seva and Seva transformation, they were also being transformed. That was the level of degree of manifestation at mental and emotional level. So manifestation is not just physical desires being fulfilled, but also the fulfillment of life itself. And that inducing desire in our heart that I also want to participate in that seva. I also want to be instrumental in participating in God's work. We both felt that the joy we received or enjoyed in doing seva was beyond anything else.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we didn't want or still don't want other things. That's not the point. It's right. Like everything has its place. I mean, just doing seva alone is not going to feed your stomach or pay your bills.
Right. But it was, like Swami always said that love is expansion. When you have this love that wells up and builds up inside, it has to go somewhere. It should flow out. You know what I mean? You can't, that's what Swami taught. It's like love is expansion. And that's what Seva really was the expression of that love.
Then one could argue or say that love is the key to manifestation. Whether, what do you want, the intensity,
right.
all of those things, or God is the only one that can manifest. And I think it kind of, if you look at these three different dimensions, the commonality is love, whether it is pure unconditional divine love or the love that we have in our hearts, or what we love so much that we want it in our lives.
Yeah.
We love the Lord so much. I mean, let's circle back on the original conversation we were having before we started this recording. We loved Baba more than anything else. And we were so fulfilled in our lives. We were so full of that love that we didn't want anything more than Baba's love. And we wanted to experience it in so many ways. We want to dedicate our lives to Baba, to his works, to his love, to his teachings, to him. And looking at what you're saying about love is expansion, that seedling of that desire, that seedling of remembering God, thinking of God, wanting to be with God at all times, spending our full year waiting for that time when we would go see the Lord every year. That seedling sprouted into more desires for more experiences with God. And each of those experiences was more satisfying, more intense, and our love for God became more and more intense. The intensity, the light begets light. We lit that flame with that love in our heart. And from that flame, we increased that intensity with the flame of love of God, and then had more experiences. What we were saying is that initially that we manifested so many experiences with Baba, and yet we could not have manifested because we could not have had those experiences except for the Lord giving us those experiences.
Right.
Desire alone is not enough.
No, you're right. I mean, there was absolutely what, I mean, I don't know what Swami would say, but I feel like, to me, like those years specifically that we were entangled with Swami physically, it was a special period of time. There was a small window of opportunity. And I can appreciate the smallness of that window of opportunity even more today, so many years later. Like you said, two boys from small towns, nowhere in the world, somehow getting to meet him. That window of opportunity was special. And it was a kind of a teaching time. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, whatever he gave physically, he gave in that window, knowing that that window was small. It was a unique period of time. I mean, that's, to me, part of the beauty of Swami, is that even just a small experience or a small mundane interaction or some small number of words that came out of his mouth, the power of those small things have only multiplied over time. You know what I mean? The truth of the, you know what I've been able to get from those experiences, like, it still continues. You know, like when you put a piece of gum in your mouth, a fresh piece of gum, you take it out of the wrapper, you chew it only for a few minutes and the flavor's gone and you throw it away. Is that what Swami's like? In fact, actually, the more I chew on these experiences and meditate on the memories, more and more flavor continues to come all the while, even so many years later. It was a special time. The quality of our feelings matters. The sincerity of our feelings.
In the end, there
You
are no
know,
words.
I know, like, don't go in. You can go in. I think it is helpful to understand how we create our own realities, intentionally or non-intentionally. I think it's valuable to understand the mechanics of our feelings, our desires, where we spend time in our thoughts, and the intensity that we apply to our feelings and the patterns we observe in our lives. I think all of that is important and valuable to understand in a practical way. If we're all playing the game, let's all get wise to the rules and, you know what I mean, play the game as well as we can.
As much as
But in reality, there's something higher, and that is, you know, like that, you know, that God principle. And that God principle isn't just a principle of how to create the life you want to live. The God principle is fundamentally a principle of love. We can have the wisdom of God in our heads and understand how the universe works and how we are gods and how we create our reality. But when that wisdom enters our heart as love, I think that's a game changer. And I think that I think when our hearts feel love, all the other rules of the game start to matter a whole lot less, you know? It's a whole lot easier to play a game with a smile on your face when your heart is saturated and full. You don't care if you win or lose. It's just a game.
You have fun playing it.
It's easy to have a smile on your face with a heart full of love.
It is reminding me of Sham Lal having this conversation with Baba.
Tell me the story again.
He was asking.
As soon as you said his name, I just felt
Yeah, he was asking Baba, you know, do we have free will or is it all God's will? His question was not like the usual debate type question, but more like, do we even have free will? You know, it was almost like questioning even the existence of free will. And Baba gives such a beautiful answer because this conversation is reminding me and giving even more clarity or putting more light over it. And it was like a rhetoric question, or question is the process, or like a koan, a puzzle, a riddle, which it is not. He said, act as if you are the doer. That's it.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Which is what you were saying. Act as if you're a doer. You were talking about life is a game. Play it. Right? And putting these two together, you act as if it's like a drama. You are playing a role.
Right. Do your best.
As if I have to put myself in the role. I am not it, but as if I am the role.
Right. Yeah. It is like a koan, right? He's saying it matters, but at the same time, it's false or illusory or Maya or something, you know. But he's not saying.
He didn't say anything beyond that. And that was the beauty. He didn't try to clarify it because then it would be an answer.
Right.
But he was pointing, he was showing the way.
I think you're right. It's totally like a meditation. That's such a beautiful saying. I've never heard that. As if you were the doer.
I have shared this story so many times, but today I'm getting a level of clarity I didn't have before. It has a new meaning to me all of a sudden. It's like we force ourselves to interpret Swami's words by translating them, by questioning them, whereas they're just suspended in eternity as the truth. If there's anything I walk away from this, I mean, how do you conclude this? It is concluded already, but what do you take out of it for me? And then you tell me what you get out of this. Like, what I got out of it was just loving God. It's like, I'm God's number one fan. It's like that type of, that's what I walk away with. Just remembering God and, loving God, and God is your number one thing, forget the rest. I mean, that's the kind of theme I'm feeling.
Yeah. This exercise of satsang and discussion. Naturally discussion and words maybe kind of are linked up with jnana. Clarification of understanding. Maybe clearer understanding is achieved. But it's funny how, like, see the satsang is maybe that's true. But I feel like I only am ready to call it satsang when I feel in my heart like the presence of Swami, when you have that feeling of love. And somehow, as soon as that feeling is there, it's funny how, like, the jnana doesn't even somehow matter so much. You know what I mean? Like, once my heart's filled with Swami, I'm ready to point any direction and charge forward. Like or go nowhere and be content, or you know what I mean? Like, the jnana matters a little less once the heart's full of Prem.
It's like when you're on the North Pole, which direction does the needle point to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of right. When you're not yet there, knowing the direction matters.
Yeah.
It is helpful. The jnana is not worthless. I'm not saying that. It is helpful to us because my heart's not always full of love. I'm not always full of love. And in such times, knowing which way the needle points is helpful.
So, Jeremy, in some way, loving God is the seed, loving God is the way, and loving God is the destination.
Yeah. It's funny, we can have these long conversations about all kinds of, ideas and Sanskrit. and then we just tie it up with a bow that's all like cliche, just love is the way.
Yeah. But this is the precipitation of it. It's not like we didn't come with this conclusion. We had our own conclusion. We had our own discovery.
No, we just launched off.
And again, that was nothing but tinkling in our heart. It was pointing us. We have to follow something, right? And the point is, follow the love in your heart. Whatever is exciting you. That conversation, that discovery, that self-discovery was exciting to both of us. Hey, what did you find about yourself? And I'm like, I found this thing. And that conversation led to something else, and that led to self-discovery, and that was nothing but right within reach of every person at all time. That's the beauty.
Well, I didn't think I was going to get to experience this today.
I walked in feeling empty, and I'm walking away feeling empty. Yet I'm full. Love you, man.
I love you too.
Saira.
Saira.